The 18 Strong Podcast with Jeff Pellizzaro, episode number 10.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzaro.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for plugging in your earbuds to the 18 Strong Podcast today. I can't believe it's the 10th episode already. This is kind of crazy. It seems like it's been such a short period of time since we started, but in the same breath, it also kind of feels like it's been forever that this has been going on. So thank you guys for all of your support. It really has been a pretty cool ride so far, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback. And please keep it coming in. I'd love to hear everything that you guys have to say, all the suggestions that you guys have. So it's been pretty cool hearing about that stuff from clients, friends, family, and just random folks that are checking out the website and checking out the podcast. So again, thanks for all the reviews. Have gotten some great reviews as of recently. A couple recent ones. I have one by a guy who he calls himself Quincy 100, and the title of the review is Older Golfer. And he says, "Hey Jeff, love your podcast. I'm 73, in great shape. Drive is about 240 to 250 yards. My goal is to shoot my age. I bought a radar gun. What exercises can I do to increase my swing speed?" So Quincy 100, first of all, thank you for taking the time out of your day to give us the review, the 5-star rating. That's awesome. As far as a couple tips, first I would say keep listening to the podcast because, as you know, we are going to continue to have some great guests that will talk about speed, power, rotation, all that great stuff. But as far as a couple things that I would definitely focus on, first would just be make sure you're moving properly, make sure your flexibility and your balance is good, and those are things to really focus on in the gym. And then also something that I really try to stress on the website, all the articles that I write, and as you'll see in a lot of the stuff coming up, is emphasizing the strength in your lower body and in your leg workouts. So if you could add in a little bit of that stuff, that would be huge. As far as what's coming up for the 18 Strong Podcast and everything going on, I'm really excited to say that this weekend I had the opportunity to go out to Carlsbad, California for the World Golf Fitness Summit, which is going to have kind of the who's who in the golf fitness world. And so I've got a couple meetings set up with some folks. I'm really hoping to make some new connections with hopefully some of you guys that are listening that are going to be there, but also some of the other people in the industry that I haven't had the chance to meet and have been following for a while, and people that I haven't heard of or don't know about, and would love for you to come up and introduce yourselves, and hopefully I'll introduce myself to you, and come say hello. And if you're at all interested in coming on the podcast, I'd love to see what you're all about, what your philosophies are, and hopefully get you on here. So to anybody that's going to be there, please, I would love to connect with you guys. And for the listeners that are not going to be there, just want to say how excited I am that I have the opportunity to go and meet some of these people and hopefully bring some great guests to you in the future. As far as today's episode, I've got a great guy on, a good friend of mine, met him a couple years ago. We'll kind of tell our background story. His name is Nick Mueller. He's a strength coach and the head of golf performance at a company called Innovative Fitness up in Vancouver, British Columbia. Nick is an awesome guy. Started out playing football, working as a high-level strength and conditioning coach in the sport of football, but then kind of gravitated towards golf fitness through some different avenues. And Nick has really gotten into working with junior golfers and becoming a inspiration for these guys, and really working on taking them and helping them perform at their best and making the best out of their game and their movement and their strength and everything. So looking forward to you guys hearing his philosophies and what he calls regressing to progress. And then just a couple side notes on this episode before we jump in is Nick is from Vancouver, so he's got some great Canadian slang going on. So when you hear the term wobbly pop, he's referring to the beers that we had when we first met. And then also we do have some technical difficulties on the line. We had a little issue with our connection, so you'll hear the line drop out. And on the 18 Strong Podcast, I feel it's very important that we pretty much go unedited in our communication, in our conversations on here. So you'll hear us drop the line, and I want these conversations to be as real as possible for you guys. So Also, it saves a little editing on my part in the long run. And then last but not least, you get to hear me make the bonehead move of the day when we discuss the metric system, and you see how great I am at converting metric kilometers to miles. So don't beat me up too bad. So anyway, with that being said, thanks for tuning in. Enjoy Nick Mueller, and I'll catch you up on the other side. Hey, Nick, welcome to the 18 Strong podcast. It's great to finally get you on here, man.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Jeff. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So for all you listeners out there, Nick and I had a chance to meet in, was it 2012 at TPI?
Yeah, we were down in Georgia, August of 2012, I believe. Fitness level 2.
Yeah, fitness level 2. So got to hang out with Nick. That's where I met. If you listened to last week's episode, Clint Howard. Got to meet Jason Glass. So a lot of connections made at that one continuing education seminar. And Nick and I got to talking, went out, had a couple of beers, and chatted up, and we've just kind of kept in touch ever since. And as I continue to watch Nick's career grow and what he's doing, I see him doing some awesome things with some of his junior golfers and things like that. So Nick, we'll get into a lot of what you're doing with your golfers and everything. But before that, if you could just give the listeners a little bit of background of you, that lovely accent that you have and where you're from, and just a little bit more about yourself.
Excellent. Okay, happy to, Jeff. Yeah, I'm for everybody out there, I'm Nick Mueller, performance coach out of Vancouver, British Columbia. That's in Canada. So if I say lots of A's, that's where I'm from. But my background is in high performance strength and conditioning, and I originally started with football as a player and then a strength and conditioning coach for the University of British Columbia up here in Vancouver. And finally, found my calling when I actually met up with a fellow Vancouverite, Jason Glass, and had a really deep heart-to-heart talk with him, and a couple more wobbly pops. And he guided me and helped me find my calling, which was golf. And my love for training athletes and finding a career direction to be able to do that in. So now I direct the golf performance program for a company called Innovative Fitness up here in Vancouver. And I work closely with our local golf club, Morgan Creek Golf Course, which in proximity to where Jason Glass is in his tour lab, it's probably about 20 kilometers away. So what's the conversion rate on that there, Jeff, in miles?
Oh man, now you're
am I grilling you?
At me? Yeah, you're grilling me.
I don't know,
say that's
man.
About 40, 45 miles. Hopefully the listeners don't kill me on that.
Well, maybe it's not quite that far. Maybe my measurements are off there. But Canadian and from Vancouver, BC. So again, Jeff, thank you so much for having me on the show, man.
Yeah, you bet. I'm really looking forward to catching up and learn a lot more about some of the stuff that you're doing, because when I watched your Instagram posts and Facebook posts and some of the videos and pictures that you're doing, you've got some cool stuff, and I can't wait for the listeners to learn a little bit more about it as well. But before we get into some of that, touching on the place that you work, because this was a very intriguing concept to me when you and I first got to talking, was Innovative Fitness. And I was kind of browsing your website and everything, and looking at what you guys do there, and the conversations that we had 2 years ago, actually. The idea that, you've got the personal training, you've got the executive and corporate programs and stuff like that. But one of the cool things that really stuck with me was the destination program that you guys have. Can you give the listeners a little bit more of an idea of what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Innovative Fitness is its grassroots are embedded in destination fitness. And what I mean by that is that we take people all over the world, and it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody's goal, let's say in fat loss or body composition change or what have you. Case in point, somebody that has always wanted to complete a hike. It doesn't have to be something like Kilimanjaro or what have you, but Kilimanjaro happens to be one of the mountains that we take people to. and hike with them. So to dive into a little more detail there, what we would do is we pick these goals for people and help them decide on ways to challenge themselves. And we set up a training program for them, and we realistically put a time frame on it. Say it takes them, 6 months or whatever, based on their current fitness level to achieve their goal. And we train them to get them fit and ready for that endeavor. And then off we go. We get on the plane and we take them to the site, and we enjoy their success and coach their successes and their victories in those goals. And it can be anything. It can be riding a leg in the Tour de France, which is something that we've done before. And myself, I've gone to Peru and hiked Machu Picchu with a group of people. It was an unbelievably enlightening experience, and it was a great and is still a great opportunity for all of our training coaches to be able to travel the world with a fitness background and goals at hand, and help people achieve their dreams that they once thought were impossible.
I think that's such a cool concept in fitness. But wait, and before we go any further, I have to clarify, before I get grilled on Twitter, Facebook, everything, that my conversion went the wrong way. Not 40 miles. 20 kilometers is closer to 12 miles.
That's what I was thinking there,
yeah. So you're right. Everybody, I'm not a conversion expert. I'm a fitness guy, so please
That's right.
take it easy on me.
We count in the ranges of 1 to 15 mostly, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
and that's standard throughout the world. So
that's correct, the gold standard.
But back to the destination. So when you take somebody on a trip like this, or when you're getting ready to go on a trip like this, what have you noticed, or have you noticed any changes in the fact that they've got this thing in mind? And like you said, it doesn't have to be fat loss or, power or strength, but they've got this destination or this achievement in mind. How does that change their mentality and how you guys work with them?
Well, what we do is every person is different. You deal with type A and type B personalities, and often with the type A people, you almost have to reel them back a little bit to help coach them properly. And I made a post on that today on Instagram, actually, about regressing in order to progress. And then you have those that are just a little bit too scared to go that extra mile, but we know as coaches they can, and it's our job to kind of give them a little bit of a nudge and coerce them and coach them and build their confidence, letting them know that they can do that. So small victories is the first little thing that we've done in the past and continue to do. Let's say it's over a 6-month period, and their program is a 6-month period until their big destination. And we do little build-ups of victories along the way to help build that confidence and build that foundation and let them know that, hey, you can do this. And should you slip and or fall, we're here to get you, and we're here to catch you and coach you, and you're not alone. And for those people that are excitable and type A personalities, come on back here. You're going a little bit too far. I know you want to go to that destination. You want to climb that mountain today, but we got to do it step by step here and make sure that we avoid injury and things like that and whatnot. So it's
I think I lost you again here, Nick. So I'm having a little technical difficulties.
You still there, Jeff?
I'm still here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, we lost you there. A little technical difficulty again there, but we're back. And we're back. So it's an extremely emotional experience for some of these people that have never been able to do anything like this. Even the thought of something like this just absolutely boggles their mind, and they don't want to even try to begin with. So it's extremely, extremely satisfying as a coach to be able to help these people achieve their biggest aspirations and dreams, and then of course challenge people with things that they don't necessarily feel that comfortable and confident doing, and build that confidence up for them, and help them achieve that. And that's a lifelong lesson for them now too, right? So it's a really, really fun experience, and I love what I do.
That's cool. And I mean, just being able to go to those places yourself, be a part of that process, see these people grow. I'm sure along the way, you grow with them. You change as a trainer, and you kind of learn how to relate to them a little bit better. What I think is so cool is there's a vision that they have there. They can see Machu Picchu, and they have something they can tackle. I would imagine this system, the small victories, having little goals over a 6-month process, is very similar to what you can do with your golfers too. But there's not always necessarily that same vision, that tangible vision that you have. With a golfer, it's I want to score less, I want to hit a ball a little bit further, but it's not always as easy to grasp as, yes, I climbed that mountain. So when you're working with your golfers, how do you keep them focused? How do you find those little goals to continue to progress on?
Yeah, again, it's identifying what the individual finds or means. I guess you could say identify as being important and or what is valuable to them. Some it's I want to have a lower golf fitness handicap on the TPI screening sheet, or I want to be able to hit the ball 5-10 yards further, or I want to shave a stroke off the front 9, the back 9, all 18 holes, whatever the case may be. So first thing that I do to help keep these people focused is I identify what they find to be valuable to them. And the perfectionists often like to have that perfect score on the golf fitness handicap. In my experiences, it's a big deal. And is there a perfect score? Well, no, there's not. We know that, right? We know that each individual will perform differently on that TPI screen, and they're able to do different things. But if it isn't broken, don't fix it, right? Because we could actually make them worse if we correct something that doesn't necessarily need to be corrected. So, identifying those small little tangibles for that individual, what they find to be valuable. And, for the junior golfers, a lot of it is shaving strokes off their game, but maybe it's going through 9 holes and not making a bogey. Maybe it's, putting a string of holes together. Maybe they have 4 great holes together. Maybe next time they go out, they have 5 great holes. It's all different, and it's all relative depending on that person.
Yeah, I think every person's going to have their different little things that gives them satisfaction. Like you said, not going 9 holes without a bogey or something like that. For me, not losing a ball in the trees in the front 9 holes, or not losing a golf ball through a full round, something like that. So finding those little tangible things to make sure that they have those successes, and both in the gym and outside of the gym. Getting to the junior golf and some of the corrective type stuff, I mentioned that I've been following you on Instagram, and you always post these pictures with different exercises and things like that. And half the time, I'm looking at them like, what is that crazy thing that they're doing? What with the rubber band, and I would imagine, and this coming from a physical therapist and a TPI guy, I kind of understand what the mentality is. But I would imagine if your everyday average golfer were to see some of these pictures that you posted, they'd be like, what is going on there? So can you explain? And I'm always thinking, man, where did Nick learn that? Because I understand what you're trying to do, and it's cool to me. But explain the whole mentality of regress to progress, which is what you just posted on Instagram a couple days ago, or today.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess you could start with the where all what the question was is where do all of these exercises, the bands come from, and what the principles behind that
well, kind of explain a little bit more about the mentality of regress to progress, because I think that so many people get into a golf fitness program or see these commercials on TV, guys throwing a medicine ball at a wall, or, doing deadlifts or squats or whatever. But, when you look at some of the pictures that you post where they're using an exercise ball and a small rubber band, but, working on positions and movements and things like that, kind of give a little background there.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of the stuff that you see on Instagram and Facebook, between you and I, Jeff, and now the listeners of 18 Strong, I do that for novelty. I've been coerced in the back staff room there, and money's been put on the table, and people are asking, I wonder if Nick can actually make that person do that. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that at all. There's always method to the madness, but regressing to progress. I heard that from Greg Rose, actually, that slogan exactly. And it might have actually been Mike Voigt, or they might have both said it, actually, at TPI Medical 2 just recently here in Vancouver. Regress to progress. So we're aware of the 4x4 corrective exercise matrix there, and how that system operates. And it is an absolute bulletproof system for those listeners out there that are TPI certified, and level 2 fitness, and you know what we're talking about here. But sometimes we need to take an individual or an athlete and regress them in order to progress them forward. And the only way we can do that is through screening to identify if they need some sort of corrective exercise, if they need a referral to a medical professional, something that's outside of the fitness world, for those fitness pros that are out there. Sometimes we need to add certain things. So for golfers that are always going in one direction, whether you're a right or left-handed golfer, you're swinging that club from left to right or from right to left in one direction, you're getting a lot of overuse. So we want to balance out the body there. But in order to progress somebody, oftentimes what we have to do is we have to look at the quality of movement and mechanics, and perhaps they lack some mobility somewhere, let's say in their thoracic spine. That can adversely affect their golf game, potentially reducing their amount of turn in their backswing and or ability to follow through. So we identify that through our screening techniques there. And should there be a red flag, then we would take away the high velocity exercises and things that build strength and add power and all that, and get them on the floor. And I'm not saying this is the end all be all, it's just an example, but get them on the floor and add that mobility and or stability, depending on what it is, and then get them back up and see if they've made a change for the better and or for the worse or no different. So sometimes we need to take the horsepower away, take away all the flash, and get that person down on the floor and assess their quality of movement and their functionality and correct that. And oftentimes when you get them back over the golf ball there, their progression is fast-tracked.
So let's take this and make it a little practical for the people that are listening that maybe haven't had the opportunity to go get assessed by a TPI or just a good fitness professional. I don't want everybody to think that everything is under the umbrella of Titleist Performance Institute, because there's a lot of fitness professionals out there that are not Titleist certified and are doing amazing things. But say you have a golfer that hasn't had the opportunity to go get assessed and learn specifically from a knowledgeable individual what they need as far as mobility, stability. What can they do tomorrow when they go to the gym to kind of implement a little bit of this? Like you said, take away the horsepower stuff, and how can they evaluate themselves, or what can they implement in their routine that could fall in lines with the regress to progress theory? Great question. Things that I have done in the past, I always look to see if somebody can perform a movement unweighted or without resistance first. If they're unable to do so, then, for those people that are going to the gym tomorrow, let's say your movement is a barbell squat. You're in the cage, you're doing a barbell squat. If you can't squat fundamentally sound without that weight, then
the business of you being in that cage and having that weight on your back doesn't necessarily make sense, because we're reinforcing those dysfunctional movement patterns, right? So step out of the cage, have a look at yourself in the mirror. And if you're unfamiliar with what a good squat or a biomechanically sound squat looks like and or should feel like, that's where you grab your fitness professional in the gym there. And again, like you pointed out, Jeff, doesn't have to be certified in TPI or anything like that. But a competent individual, and get them to have a look at what you're doing and seek out their advice and their professional advice and go from there.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Find somebody because if you are at a regular gym, with trainers, there's somebody there that understands what a squat looks like and should look like. But if you're in your basement or something like that, that's where you work out. I think Nick's advice is perfect. If you can't do an exercise or a movement pattern without weight, and you add weight to it, first of all, your movement stinks. If your movement stinks and then you add weight to it, you're just training yourself to do a crappy exercise, pretty much. I think, we've heard that in different ways from different fitness professionals. But so Nick, just kind of give us a couple examples of what they need to look for in a good squat. So let's take one little piece, one little exercise, because this is part of the screen that we run all of our people through. What are the things they're looking for in their squat?
A big one that is out there in the research now, and it has been for quite some time, but with all of the high intensity sports that are out there, like CrossFit and things like that, and not bad mouthing CrossFit at all, just bringing it up, but butt winking is a big one. I know there's different terms, hyperlordosis in the lower back end, or curvature of the sacrum underneath the body there at the bottom of the squat. If we see butt winking, that's definitely something that we want to pay attention to. We want to be able to gain 90 degrees of flexion in that in the pelvis there to ensure that we're in a safe position and we're not flexing and extending that lumbar spine with a ton of weight on our back, potentially creating structural damage on that spine and those joints in that area.
Yeah, I'm constantly amazed when I bring in people of all ages. I mean, we just had a bunch of hockey players in our facility the other night, and we were testing them, and it's amazing to me how many people can't perform a fundamental squat. Not to say that that's right or wrong. If you've never been taught the right way, you can't really expect to be able to do that. But some people, even with great instruction, they just physically can't get there yet. And sometimes it's the ankles that are bad. You can't bend at your ankles enough. When you try to go down into a squat, you can't get your butt below your knees. You can't keep your toes straight. So these are all the things that we're looking for, keeping a little bit more of an upright posture. And, if you can't do all of those things, then there really needs to be some steps taken backwards in order to fix whatever it is, flexibility-wise, mobility, stability-wise. And I believe that's exactly what you're talking about, Nick, is, taking those steps back, not trying to move as quickly as you can towards, the power squats and plyometrics and, all the crazy stuff that you want to do, the high-level stuff, because if you try doing the high-level stuff, and sure, you might be able to do it where it looks okay, but over time, you're just going to end up hurting yourself because your body's not moving properly. Would you agree with that assessment?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. We compound dysfunctional movement patterns over and over and over again. It's only a matter of time before our body gives way and some sort of injury or little hot spot is going to appear. And, the last thing we want to do is compound dysfunctional movement over and over and over again and create a potential site for injury on our body there, taking us out of, if it's a competitive athlete, taking us out of sport or just a recreational individual that can't go running on the weekend and or cycling.
With golf fitness becoming such a popular term these days, and you see a lot more golfers getting in the gym. We see a lot more people taking the initiative to work on things outside of the driving range, the putting green. What are some of the bigger mistakes that you're seeing some of these people make, either in the gym or when they come to see you?
I see a lot of do-it-yourselfers. And what I mean by that is a great line that is always on the Golf Channel. Arnold Palmer always says, swing your swing. Well, there isn't 2 swings that are the same. And I'm probably irritating some golf pros that are out there, I'm sure, and or stirring up some ruckus. So correct me if I'm wrong, golf pros, but not one swing is the same. And that means that every individual is an individual, and they have to be trained that way. So what I mean by that, Jeff, is that there isn't one cookie cutter workout that works for everybody. Everybody learns in a different way. They need to be coached in a different way. And just because this exercise works for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And that's where you need to be assessed by a competent professional that knows what is the right fit for that person.
Absolutely. I would 100% agree with that. Everybody's got their own unique and individual goals, imperfections, functional limitations, and with their swing, with their workouts, with everything. So I think we kind of beat this like we'll beat it like a dead horse, basically, is a terrible phrase. But that the fact that you need to have somebody help you figure out what's going on in your workout program, what's going on in your training program, your golf game, that can assess and help you figure out where you need to go, how you need to progress. And if you really want to get to the best of your game and play at your best, work out at your best, and reach the top, it's important to have a plan of attack and have somebody help you figure that out. So
absolutely.
With that being said, I think I've thrown everybody under the bus that's been on this show so far in the fact that I want to know what you personally, Nick Mueller, a fitness professional, what do you struggle with? What are some of your functional limitations that you have either for your fitness program, your workouts, your diet, your nutrition? What are the things you struggle with?
Oh, man. All right. This is great because there's lots of things that I struggle with. And, if I said there wasn't, then I'd be lying to you. So my background is football, played up here university level, and there's a lot of explosive pulling and jerking and cleans and things like that. So my rotation was pretty limited when I first started playing golf. And I'll venture outside of golf here as well. But my main thing is that I come over the top and we've got a bit of a flat shoulder plane, so I'm working a lot thanks to the SFMA screening that I just learned with Dr. Greg Rose and Mike Voigt there, that my left thoracic rotation is pretty limited due to an injury that I sustained when I was playing football. So I got to work a lot on that. I do all my correctives as frequently as I can, and that has definitely made a big difference in my golf game. And, a couple of wobbly pops might sneak into the diet every once in a while there. So I got to manage that. But definitely left thoracic spine rotation. And then the corresponding internal hip rotation on my right side. I had a bit of a knee injury back then when I was a couple years younger. And I have to work a lot on stabilizing my right hip, or I will tend to sway away from the target from time to time when I grip onto that driver and try and just absolutely beat the skin off the ball. So those two things are my main focus currently. Taking care of a couple of those wobbly pops is another one. And other than that, that's my main focus right now, Jeff. But I've struggled with other things in the past too. I've been caught in the squatting. I guess you could say squatting as much weight as you possibly can trap, and or benching as much as you possibly can trap, and things like that. But it has always surfaced injuries for me, and my dysfunctions have been revealed because of those methods. And now I'm working on maintaining those and fixing them so I'm functional and able to get up and do anything I'd like to.
Well, like you've said before, and we've said here on the 18 Strong podcast before, everybody's got their limitations. Us as fitness professionals, we have things that we're all struggling with and working on, and we love to point out the fact that, all the guests that we have on this show have something that they're working on. But as you can see, Nick knows exactly what he's moving towards. He knows that it's his left thoracic rotation, his right hip internal rotation, and he is now learning how to correct those things to become a better golfer, to work out smarter, to work out better. And that's what we're hoping to convey here on the 18 Strong podcast and with the website, is just learning, little bits at a time, how to get a little bit smarter in the gym with your workouts, with your practices. You don't have to become a fitness professional to start working out a little bit better. It's a slow process. Nick and I, every guest that's on the show, we don't know everything about fitness and nutrition, but it's a constant learning process. And so just by taking the initiative to get out there and make those improvements, find out what's going on, you're going to be that much better of a golfer tomorrow than you were yesterday because of that. So thanks for all that, Nick.
Absolutely.
Before we get going here, we're going to kind of wrap things up a little bit, but I want to know if there's one last parting piece of advice that you can give our listeners. We love action steps, things that they can take with them tomorrow, like we said before, take with them tomorrow to the gym, to the golf course. Any last parting piece of advice?
Know your limitations, and if you don't know, it's a good time to get assessed. And I'll repeat a quote that Lance Gill just posted. It might be an older quote, but I read it the other day. And identifying dysfunction as a cause for celebration, you shouldn't be ashamed of that, because we're going to get better once we identify those dysfunctions. So learn what you're good at. You know what you're good at already. Identify what you're not good at, and let's work on those dysfunctions. Let's clean up that movement, create quality, not quantity, and let's get moving better out there, folks.
Very cool. And Nick, where can everybody find you on Twitter, Facebook, etc.?
Yeah, I'm available on all social media there, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Instagram Coach Mueller, and Twitter. What am I on there? At Nick, NICKMGAP, Golf Athletic Performance, and Nick Mueller on Facebook as well.
Cool. And as everybody on the 18 Strong podcast knows, we will have all that linked up. We'll link to Innovative Fitness so you guys can check out where Nick works. And some of the pictures and information about their destination program, that type of stuff. Check out Nick on Instagram. He's got some great pictures. And I see some pictures of you on a driving range under like a big tent. Is that actually at Innovative Fitness, or is that a golf course that you guys are at?
Yeah, that's our golf course that we're partnered with, Morgan Creek Golf Course. If anybody's up there in Vancouver, folks, you got to come up and check it out. It's a phenomenal play. Great track, but that's the mobile gym that we use during the summer months when the weather is great. We're able to train outside when it's nice and hot and sunny, and transfer what we do in the gym directly onto the driving range. And it's also a great exposure tool for those golfers and athletes that are on the range that are a little bit tentative about golf fitness, because we know that sometimes golfers can be a little tentative starting up a fitness routine, but they see the inner workings as to what's going on there, and how these athletes are being coached, and they can come up in an inviting atmosphere and check it out and ask questions. And that picture you see there, Jeff, is the outdoor on the range training facility for the summertime there at Morgan Creek Golf Course.
That's very cool. What a great facility. It looks beautiful up there.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, man. So everybody, thank you for listening. Nick, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. And actually, we'll have a chance to hang out in about a week or so out in sunny San Diego, hopefully, at the World Golf Fitness Summit.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeff. And thanks to all that are listening on the podcast here. Jeff is doing a phenomenal job, the 18 Strong podcast, and hope to see some new faces and some people down at the World Golf Fitness Summit there, and looking forward to hooking up with you down there, Jeff, as well. I
appreciate the kind words, and we'll touch base soon, brother.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
yeah, you
Nick.
bet.
All right. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of that interview with Nick. I just think he's one of the coolest guys that I've met and come across in the golf fitness world. Just a super down-to-earth guy. For whatever reason, when we met a couple years ago, we just kind of seemed to click and hit it off, and have kind of kept in touch, really via the social media networks over the past several years. And like I said in the interview, I'm just very inspired by what Nick's doing, the work that he's putting in with his junior golfers. And kind of funny, and Nick might kind of get after me for sharing this, but when I invited Nick to come on the podcast, he was kind of like, man, thanks, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on, and I'll do my best to give you a good interview. And I was like, man, Nick, this is exactly what the 18 Strong podcast is about. It's about all the guys like Nick that I think are doing amazing, guys and girls, that are doing amazing things with their golfers, with their athletes around the world, really, that the general public really doesn't notice and know about, all the great things that people like Nick are doing. So, Nick, I want to personally thank you for taking the time, but also just being an inspiration to myself, the other fitness professionals that are out there. Keep doing what you're doing, because you really are. You're changing the lives of the kids that you're working with, and you're inspiring a lot of people around the globe now that you're on the 18 Strong podcast. But just a couple takeaways from Nick's interview. One thing that I love that he said is everyone learns and swings differently. So an exercise that works for one person isn't always going to work for the next person. So don't just take a cookie cutter exercise program that you read in a magazine and assume it's going to change your game. Take some directions, but don't just assume that doing one thing that another golfer is doing is going to make your game that much better. And the fact that identifying your limitation is a cause for celebration. I love that quote. I think he said that's one from Lance Gill. And I totally agree. It's so cool to see. I had some kids in my gym just this afternoon, and I had to stress to them that by failing some of the tests that I was putting them through, that shows potential. If they're already playing really good golf and they have these limitations and these flaws, by fixing those flaws, that's going to make a huge difference. So as a golfer, look at the game that you're playing already, look at the limitations you might have, and don't think that that's a negative thing. Think that's a positive thing that you can change. So let's put that positive spin on it. And then lastly, just the idea of regressing to progress. Nick's exactly right. Sometimes we get so caught up in moving forward, and getting there so quickly. It's just kind of our nature these days. But sometimes you got to take that step back to then make 2 steps forward. If you're not moving properly and you're trying to load on a bunch of weight, you're really doing yourself more damage. Take that step back, fix your movement patterns, or fix the issue in your swing, and then slowly, progress forward, and you're going to be that much stronger and more effective in your game and in your practices. So thanks again for being here. Stay tuned. The next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, we're going to continue to put out some great guests. I've got a couple people lined up, and as I said, I'm hoping to really make some great connections at this World Golf Fitness Summit in San Diego, and hopefully we'll bring back some really great content for you guys, both for the website as well as for the podcast. So once again, throw out a hashtag for Nick Mueller on Twitter. Regress to progress, and as well, we love hashtagging 18 Strong. And feel free to send us some pictures. Get on the Facebook page, post some pictures of things that to you epitomize 18 Strong, quotes that you see. Send us some tweets. We love getting the feedback. So anything we can do to help you guys, and anything you guys can post to us, helps us make this a better show for you. So once again, thank you guys very much. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.